Quick update on the game here. We have now played out 7 turns, so we've had 2 hours, which is where you get significant morale check. And both sides started at morale 155, that's the whole army. Now the French are down to 89, the Anglo-Allied down to 93. At this rate of losses and this many brigades being activated every time, so every hour you're going to reduce that plus the losses. Neither of them can sustain it to the end of the 6:30 p.m. So it's just a question of who goes first. Now an interesting point is here, that denotes that the Allies do not take a command morale reduction on that hour, and I think that is going to be a balancing thing, scenario balancing thing. So with it being very close at the moment, I think that's how this scenario goes. So what's happening on the board, I'll just zoom out a little bit. You can see there's no red here, there's some red there. I just put these white ones on to indicate batteries that are unmanned. That's a French one, that's Anglo-Allied, that's a King's German Anglo-Allied. But I just needed that essentially because we have a charge here and I wanted to see better where the possibility of the movement was. But before we get to that, I just want to point out here, you can see the flanks of the French are now refusing their right flank. They've brought up a brigade to form a line here that was waiting in reserve here. And once their leader's sorted out this routing unit, he's going to move up there and suggest these fellows move back. That's going to be very costly because they'll be moving back under fire. The Brits have just moved this one around. That one's probably just going to be completely decimated as it tries to move back. Maybe that one's just going to turn around. But anyway, so the French are trying to refuse their flank. You can see they've got fellows nice in position here. They haven't moved out. They've got obstructed terrain hex side and this side, which is their benefit. So I don't know if they're in a little dip here or in hedgerows. They're not moving out in the face of the Anglo-Allied's cavalry, but you can see they brought up some artillery. Next turn they will unlimber. They brought up artillery here. Next turn they will unlimber. This artillery is now able to start firing at this one in this turn. But the overall situation, this refused flank, and Wellington has just now moved himself over here, ready to activate both of these brigades and perhaps his cavalry. So he's noticing we are at a critical juncture. The French are breaking through. Now his cavalry will have at least one go, before cavalry ought to become disordered after a charge. So and what with the artillery there, they're not necessarily going to drive them back. They'll be able to at least weaken the French push, but not necessarily be decisive. Okay, he's got some fellows moving up here, more cavalry in reserve there. But the thought is he's going to say now is the time, as they're just on their cusp, let's hit them in the flank. That leaves the question of these French light cavalry. Wellington does have some units here as well, so hopefully these ones will be able to screen that cavalry. These Hanoverians will create a shock, followed up by his cavalry there. So that's Wellington's thought at this point. And what's Ney doing? Well, Ney's back here. He's been herding up that artillery slowly, but he's now in position that he can. He's just activated some more cavalry, sent up more. There's one more cavalry regiment there, which he hasn't activated yet. These ones are still waiting unactivated, so he's in position to activate all of these 3 at a moment's notice and continue sending this artillery up. Now, the road has been cleared here. Haye Sainte is taken by the French. The last Anglo-Allied units just holding out there, but not for long. And we have French cavalry there, so he opted not to charge yet because when you open a charge, that would make it harder for these units to move. You do have to charge at least 2 hexes, which would have brought him in range of this cannon. But anyway, that cavalry unit's waiting there, perhaps wishing now that he had charged as this one moved up. It could have bonked him. But anyway, this cavalry unit has just declared a charge. You can see I've slightly doctored these charge markers just to make them clearer to me, and also to vary them so that, they had to be at sort of odd angles. So I doctored them just so I can make the nice triangle there. So this is the cavalry unit. This is his charge zone. And what that means is that this one was actually outside his charge zone. So actually I didn't need to put that one in square, but these two decided they must go in square. And this one, despite the fact that it being an elite Brit unit, has disorder. This one's gone in square. The leader is there. So who is that? I can't remember. That's Camp. They're taking a bit of a battering, that unit, so their morale was a bit lower than the start. So that will be interesting. We're just about to start the French shock phase, which will resolve that charge. Potentially he could run all the way past and say hit this unit, which hasn't gone into square, but he will draw fire from these two as he goes past. So I think the obvious thing is he's going to hit that one. And yes, so that's what's happening at the moment. As detailed before, the French are kind of moving around here, so they're just trying to join this push and hold the flank rather than push against these.